I am sitting alone in our living room right now. The house is quiet. Too quiet. On the wall, there is a wedding photo from 12 years ago. Megan and I looked so happy that day. 2 kids, a beautiful home in suburban Ohio, and what I thought was a solid marriage. I believed I had everything a man could want. But I never imagined the person who would destroy it all was not some stranger. It was her own sister, someone I once considered family. Before I share what happened, let me know where you are watching from today. Drop a comment below with your city or country. If you have ever been betrayed by someone you trusted, completely hit that like button right now. And if you are new here, make sure to subscribe so you do not miss stories like this one. Now, if you are standing at a crossroads in your own marriage, or if you have ever wondered how far family manipulation can go, stay with me until the very end. This story might just change how you see everything. Let me take you back to where it all began. I met Megan at a mutual friend's party, when we were both 25 years old. She was a kindergarten teacher with the warmest smile I had ever seen. I was a construction engineer, fresh out of graduate school and trying to build a career. From the moment we started talking that night, something clicked between us. It was not fireworks or some dramatic love at first sight moment. It was simpler than that. It felt like coming home. We dated for 2 years before I proposed. Nothing fancy, just a quiet dinner at her favorite Italian restaurant and a ring that took me 6 months to save for. She said yes before I even finished asking the question. We got married the following spring in a small ceremony with close friends and family. Megan wore her grandmother's veil, and I remember thinking I was the luckiest man alive. Our daughter Emma came along 2 years into the marriage. Holding her for the first time changed something inside me. Suddenly, every decision I made was about building a future for this tiny person who depended on us completely. 5 years later, Tyler joined our family. With 2 kids, Megan and I decided she would work part-time so she could be home more. I picked up extra projects at work to make up for the income difference. It was hard, but we were a team. We bought a house in a quiet neighborhood outside of Columbus. 4 bedrooms, a backyard with a swing set, and a 2-car garage. Every Sunday morning, I made pancakes while the kids watched cartoons. Friday nights were movie nights with popcorn and blankets in the living room. During summers, we took camping trips to state parks, roasting marshmallows and telling ghost stories around the fire. It was not a perfect life, but it was ours. And I was proud of what we had built together. Now let me tell you about Lauren. She is Megan's older sister by 3 years. Unlike Megan, Lauren never settled down. She lived in a high-rise apartment in downtown Cleveland, worked in marketing for some big firm, and had a social life that seemed to revolve around cocktail bars and weekend getaways. When she visited, she always brought expensive gifts for the kids and bottles of wine that cost more than our grocery bill. At first, I genuinely liked Lauren. She was funny, confident, and seemed to care about her sister. I treated her like the older sister I never had, but over time I started noticing things, little comments here and there that made me uncomfortable. She would say things like, "Marriage is just a fancy trap," or "all men eventually show their true colors." Once, after a few glasses of wine, she told Megan right in front of me that she deserved more than this suburban life. I brushed it off. I told myself she was just a single woman with different priorities. Maybe she was even a little jealous of what Megan and I had. Megan would always laugh off her sister's remarks and tell me not to take Lauren so seriously. So I did not. That was my first mistake. What I did not fully realize was how close Megan and Lauren actually were. They talked on the phone almost every single day, sometimes for hours. Lauren was not just a sister to Megan. She was a confidant, an advisor, and apparently a voice that carried more weight than mine ever did. About 8 months ago, things started to shift. At first, the changes were subtle enough that I almost missed them. Megan became critical of small things. The way I dressed was suddenly not good enough. The hours I spent at work made me neglectful, even though those hours paid for our mortgage. My habit of watching football on Sundays, which she had never minded before, became evidence that I was boring and predictable. Then came the comparisons. She would mention how her coworker's husband surprised her with flowers every week. or how someone at the gym had a partner who planned romantic getaways. I tried to step up. I brought home flowers. I suggested a weekend trip, just the two of us. But nothing I did seemed to be enough. I noticed something else too. Every time Lauren visited or called, Megan's attitude toward me got worse. It was like her sister was slowly turning up the volume on every dissatisfaction Megan had ever felt. After one of Lauren's visits, Megan barely spoke to me for 3 days. When I asked what was wrong, she just sighed and said I would not understand. One night I woke up around 2 in the morning and realized Megan was not in bed. I found her in the kitchen, whispering into her phone. When she saw me, she quickly said she had to go and hung up. I asked who she was talking to. "Lauren," she said. Her sister was having a crisis and needed support. I went back to bed, but something felt wrong. I just could not put my finger on what it was. A few weeks later, I overheard something that changed everything. Megan was on the phone with Lauren in the bedroom, and she did not know I had come home early from work. The door was slightly open, and I heard Lauren's voice clearly through the speaker. She said, "You deserve real happiness, Megan. Nathan is too boring. He will never give you the life you deserve. You need to think about yourself for once." I stood there frozen, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I wanted to burst in and confront them both, but something held me back. Maybe I was hoping I had misheard. Maybe I was afraid of what confronting this would mean. So I quietly backed away and pretended I had just arrived home when I walked through the front door again. That night, lying next to Megan while she scrolled through her phone, I felt like I was sleeping next to a stranger. The woman I had loved for over a decade suddenly seemed like someone I did not know at all. Over the next several weeks, the changes in Megan became impossible to ignore. She started paying attention to her appearance in ways she never had before. New clothes appeared in her closet every week. She signed up for a gym membership and started going almost every day. She changed her hair color, got her nails done regularly, and started wearing makeup even just to run errands. I tried to be supportive at first. I told her she looked great, that I was happy she was taking time for herself. But deep down, a voice in the back of my mind kept asking who all this effort was really for. It certainly was not for me. She barely looked at me anymore. The evening outings started soon after. Megan said she was meeting friends from work for dinner. Then it was drinks with Lauren. Then a coworker's birthday party. Some weeks she was out 3 or 4 nights. I found myself eating dinner alone with the kids more often than not. Emma started asking why Mommy was never home anymore. I did not have an answer for her. Megan became secretive about her phone. She changed her password and kept the screen angled away from me. Once, when she left it on the kitchen counter, I saw a notification pop up with just a heart emoji. When I asked about it, she said it was from a group chat with her girlfriends. Her voice was casual, but she grabbed the phone a little too quickly. I tried everything I could think of to reconnect with her. I suggested date nights at her favorite restaurants. I offered to take time off work so we could go away for a weekend. I even wrote her a letter like I used to when we were dating, telling her how much I loved her and wanted to work on whatever was wrong between us. She read it, thanked me politely, and nothing changed. The kids felt the tension even if they did not understand it. Tyler started having trouble sleeping and wanted me to stay in his room until he fell asleep every night. Emma grew quiet and withdrawn, spending more time in her room than with the family. When I asked her what was wrong, she just shrugged and said everything feels different now. I blamed myself for a long time. I wondered if I had worked too much, if I had taken Megan for granted, if I had failed to be the husband she needed. I replayed every argument, every missed anniversary, every time I chose work over family. The guilt ate at me, even as some part of me sensed that what was happening went beyond anything I had or had not done. Then I discovered the truth about Jake. It happened almost by accident. I was at a work event when a colleague mentioned he had seen Megan at an upscale restaurant downtown the week before. He assumed it was a relative I had not met. The look on my face told him it was not. I started paying closer attention after that. I noticed Megan mentioned Lauren's name less frequently, even though she was going out just as much. I found receipts in her purse for places we had never been to together. One night, I checked our shared credit card statement and found charges at restaurants I had never heard of and a hotel room in the city from 2 months prior. My hands were shaking as I scrolled through the transactions. There it was in black and white. Evidence of a life my wife was living without me. A life I knew nothing about. The final confirmation came from our daughter's iPad. Megan had used it one night when her phone was charging and she forgot to log out of her messaging app. Emma had mentioned the iPad was acting weird, so I offered to take a look. What I found shattered whatever hope I had been holding on to. There were messages between Megan and a man named Jake. Hundreds of them. The conversations made it clear they had been seeing each other for months. Jake worked in finance and was an old colleague of Lauren. The messages were intimate, full of promises and plans for a future together. Megan told him she was preparing to leave me. She said Lauren was helping her figure out the logistics. But even worse were the messages between Megan and her sister. Lauren had not just introduced them, she had actively encouraged the affair from the start. In one message, Lauren wrote that I deserved to be cheated on for trapping Megan in such a boring life. In another, she said Megan should take me for everything I was worth in the divorce. They discussed strategies for hiding assets and building a case against me. I sat in my car outside our house for almost an hour, unable to move. Tears streamed down my face for the first time in years. 12 years of marriage, 2 children, countless sacrifices, and this was how it ended. Not with a fight or a gradual growing apart, but with calculated deception orchestrated by the woman I called my sister-in-law. I spent 3 days gathering my thoughts before I confronted Megan. Part of me wanted to scream at her the moment I walked through the door, but I knew that would only hurt our children and give her ammunition to use against me later. So I waited. I made copies of every piece of evidence I had found. I consulted with a lawyer. And I prepared myself for a conversation that would end my marriage. The night I chose was a Thursday. The kids were asleep, and the house was quiet. Megan was sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone, probably messaging Jake or Lauren when I sat down across from her and placed a folder on the coffee table. She looked up, confused. "What is this?" she asked. I told her to open it. Inside were printed screenshots of her messages with Jake. Credit card statements highlighted with the charges I had found. Photographs of texts between her and Lauren discussing their plan. Everything. Her face went through several stages as she flipped through the pages. Confusion, recognition, fear, then tears. She started crying and denying it at first. She said the messages were taken out of context, that it was not what it looked like. But we both knew she was lying, and eventually she stopped trying. What came next was worse than the affair itself. Instead of apologizing, Megan turned the blame on me. She said I had pushed her to this, that I was never home, that I did not romance her anymore, that I had become predictable and boring. She said Lauren had helped her see what she was missing, that Jake made her feel alive in ways I never could. I asked her about Emma and Tyler. I asked if she had thought about what this would do to them. She did not have an answer. She just sat there crying, unable or unwilling to acknowledge the damage she had caused to our family. That night, Megan packed a bag and went to stay with Lauren. She said she needed space to think. I let her go. There was nothing left to say. The next morning was one of the hardest of my life. Emma came downstairs and found me sitting at the kitchen table with coffee I had not touched. She knew something was wrong immediately. She had heard parts of our conversation the night before. She asked me directly if Mom had cheated on me. I did not want to lie to my daughter, but I also did not want to destroy her image of her mother completely. I told her that her mom and I were having serious problems and that we might not be able to fix them this time. I told her it was not her fault and that both of us loved her and Tyler more than anything. Emma broke down crying. Through her tears, she said she had suspected something was wrong for months. She had seen her mom acting strangely. She had overheard phone calls that did not make sense. She said she hated her mom for doing this to our family. I held her and told her that hate would only hurt her in the long run, but I understood why she felt that way. Tyler was harder in a different way. He did not understand why Mommy had left. He kept asking when she was coming home. I had to explain as gently as I could that Mommy and Daddy needed some time apart. He cried himself to sleep that night, and I lay beside him until his breathing finally steadied. In the days that followed, I made a decision. I was not going to be a victim in this story. I was going to protect my children and my future, whatever that looked like. I hired the best family lawyer I could afford. I presented all the evidence of the affair and Lauren's involvement in orchestrating it. My lawyer assured me that this documentation would be crucial in custody proceedings. I filed for divorce and requested primary custody of both children, citing Megan's pattern of absence and her affair as evidence of her priorities. Lauren tried to intervene. She called me furious, accusing me of trying to destroy her sister's life. She threatened to tell everyone I was an abusive husband, that I had driven Megan away with my controlling behavior. I recorded the call just in case and told her that any lies she spread would be met with the truth I had documented. I also reached out to Megan's parents. They lived a few hours away and had always been kind to me. I drove to their house and showed them everything. I watched their faces crumble as they read the messages between their daughters. Megan's mother cried. Her father sat in stunned silence. They apologized to me, though none of this was their fault. They said they had no idea Lauren had become this person. The weeks that followed brought a certain grim satisfaction. Jake, the man Megan had been willing to destroy our family for, disappeared the moment things got complicated. When he learned about the divorce proceedings and custody battle, he stopped returning her calls. He had wanted a fun affair, not a woman with 2 kids and a legal mess. Megan was devastated. The fairy tale Lauren had promised her was evaporating. Lauren distanced herself too. When the situation became messy and public, when family members started asking questions, Lauren suddenly had no time for the sister she had supposedly been helping. The architect of Megan's destruction abandoned her project when it stopped being entertaining. The divorce was finalized 4 months later. The judge reviewed the evidence and granted me primary custody of Emma and Tyler. Megan got visitation rights, but the children would live with me. It was not the outcome I had ever imagined for my life, but it was the right one for my kids. 6 months have passed since the divorce was finalized. I will not pretend the road has been easy. There have been nights when the loneliness felt suffocating, moments when I questioned every decision I had made, times when I woke up reaching for someone who was no longer there. But there has also been healing, real, gradual, hard-won healing. I started taking Emma and Tyler to a family therapist about a month after Megan left. At first, they were resistant. Emma did not want to talk about her feelings. Tyler did not understand why we had to go, but over time the sessions helped. Emma learned to process her anger without letting it consume her. Tyler started to understand in age-appropriate ways that families sometimes change, but love does not have to. Emma told me something a few weeks ago that I will never forget. She said she was proud of me for being strong enough to walk away from someone who did not respect us. She said she hoped that when she grew up she would have the courage to do the same if she ever found herself in a similar situation. My 14-year-old daughter should not have had to learn that lesson so young. But I am grateful she learned it at all. Tyler has bounced back with the resilience that only children seem to have. He still asks about his mom sometimes, and I always encourage him to call her or see her when he wants. I will not poison my children against their mother, no matter what she did to me. That is not the kind of father I want to be. As for me, I have slowly rebuilt my life. I started exercising again, something I had let slip during the chaos of the past year. I reconnected with old friends I had neglected. I even started coaching Tyler's Little League team, something I never had time for before. The house feels different now, but it is starting to feel like home again. I heard through mutual friends that Megan lost her job a few months after the divorce. She could not focus, and her performance suffered. She moved into a small apartment on the other side of town. Jake never came back. Lauren, the sister who had promised her a better life, rarely calls anymore. The fantasy Lauren sold her collapsed the moment it met reality. Megan has reached out a few times asking if we could talk. Once she asked for forgiveness. I told her I was working on letting go of the anger, but that did not mean we would ever be what we were. Forgiveness, I have learned, is not about the other person. It is about freeing yourself from the weight of carrying hatred. I do not wish Megan harm. I take no pleasure in her struggles. But I also feel no obligation to save her from the consequences of her choices. She made her decisions with full knowledge of what she was risking. So did Lauren. They both have to live with that now. The biggest lesson I have taken from this experience is about self-worth. For months, I believed I was somehow responsible for Megan's betrayal, that if I had been a better husband, more romantic, more exciting, more present, none of this would have happened. But that is not how betrayal works. People who cheat make a choice. They choose to break their vows. They choose to deceive. They choose to prioritize their own desires over their family. That choice says everything about them and nothing about the person they betrayed. I have also learned that walking away can be the strongest thing you ever do. There was a version of me that would have fought to keep the marriage alive at any cost. That would have accepted blame and begged for another chance. But that version of me would have taught my children that their father did not deserve respect, that our family's dignity was worth sacrificing. I could not do that to them. I could not do that to myself. If you are watching this, and you are going through something similar, I want you to know that you are not alone. Betrayal by someone you love is one of the deepest wounds a person can experience. It changes you. It makes you question everything you thought you knew. But it does not have to define you. You get to decide what comes next. You get to choose whether this pain makes you bitter or makes you stronger. I chose stronger. I hope you do too. Life is not perfect now. I do not know if it ever will be. But there is peace in my home again. There is laughter at the dinner table. There is hope for whatever comes next. And that is more than enough. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever been betrayed by someone you trusted completely? How did you find the strength to move forward? Leave a comment below and share your story. Your experience might help someone else who is struggling right now. If this story touched you in any way, please hit that like button. It helps more people find these videos and know they are not alone. Make sure to subscribe to this channel so you do not miss more stories like this one. And if you know someone who needs to hear this message today, share this video with them. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for listening to my story. I wish you courage in your own battles, peace in your heart, and the wisdom to know that your worth is never determined by how others treat you. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one.